Hey, Canucks here. Today I'm going to be talking about what's next for the Vancouver Canucks after their second round loss. I don't want this video to come off as a complete negative video because we made it so far and that's a huge positive. I don't want to take that as a negative, but we do need to improve on some things. But I'm pretty proud of the Canucks for making it as far as they did. Anyways, if you do go on to enjoy today's video, please consider subscribing. It's free and the easiest way to support my channel. Now, let's get into the video. The Canucks were eliminated in round 2 against Vegas in a series that, to be honest, should have been done a while before it was. We can learn quite a few things from the series. A big thing that we learned were that they aren't good enough to be full-on contenders. We sort of got a false sense that we were contenders after beating St. Louis, but St. Louis, no offense to St. Louis fans, isn't like a full-on dominant force. They were a good team, and they were second best in the league in the regular season, but they don't have like the depth and overall skill that Vegas has. So, although we could beat them, I don't think we could stand a chance against a team like Vegas next year if we don't make changes. And also, I don't think we will be able to make changes required to beat a team like Vegas in one off season due to multiple things, specifically our cap situation, because we're kind of stuck in like a sticky situation. We're kind of in quicksand because we keep overpaying players to get into like a better situation, and that just gets us deeper and deeper into our hole. So we aren't ready to be contenders yet, but at the same time, the fact that we were able to survive quite a while in the playoffs gives us some hope that we might be contenders sooner than later. Although that contradicts my earlier point, what I mean by sooner than later is like more than 2 years, but less than 4. So still a couple years, but still soon, like sooner than we thought. Another thing that we learned from this playoff loss, or at least from this series, is that Thatcher Demko will be a starting goaltender way sooner than at least I thought, and I assume sooner than most people thought. So after this season, but before the playoffs obviously, I thought Demko would still need a little while longer to develop, and by that I mean like a year or two. And to be honest, I was losing a little bit of my hope and thinking he may not pan out. But after his stellar playoff performance, I think he could be a starter caliber goaltender as soon as next year. And that's starter caliber. I don't know if he'll be the starter, but that's starter caliber. And this does change quite a bit, and it's good that it happened now because now the Canucks can rethink signing Jacob Markstrom. I think they still will, but they can rethink it. In fact, after Demko's amazing performance, I actually get asked quite a bit if Vancouver should still sign Jacob Markstrom. And 5 likes, I know a lot of my friends and family are subscribed to my channel, so 5 likes and my next video will be about that question. But I won't talk about it in today's video because it's not really important to the point. The point is that Demko is much more ready than we thought, and he could be a good starter caliber goaltender next year. And if we do move on from Markey, I think he'll be able to step up and be our main guy like how he did in the Vegas series. And if Markey gets injured throughout the season, he can also do the same thing. He kept us in that series, and that really proves to me that he's NHL ready. In fact, I think he could even contend for Markey's starter spot next year if we do keep Markey. And also, the way he performed made me a lot more hopeful in the way he'll pan out and our in general goaltending situation, because when Markey was injured during the regular season, everyone was not confident in our goaltending situation, and it caused a lot of panic and everyone was thinking that we were done. And the same thing happened in the Vegas series, but Demko actually came through and performed well. And I think if he keeps doing this, the panic won't happen ever again. And I don't think anyone will really be that worried when he comes in. And I think that takes a lot of stress away from the players, and especially the goalie, because when your whole fan base is scared that you're going to mess up and end your whole season, it's undoubtedly harder to play. So now that people won't be as worried, it might actually have a pretty positive effect on Demko. But that's obviously an if. I don't really know if Demko kind of works that way, if he gets phased by pressure or anything, but it's a possibility. Another thing that we all need to learn from the loss is the fact that we even made it that far is really, really good and probably the biggest positive. I know that I sort of mentioned this earlier, but I really want to nail in the point that the loss is in no way a negative. And there aren't really any real negatives that come with the loss. It's just some things we need to change. And in my eyes, those aren't real negatives, but they're taken as negatives. It's just things that we need to change. So the loss means only real one thing, and that means there's actually hope for Vancouver. It doesn't mean, oh, we're over and all of that. This was not our year, but it means our year is coming soon. Something else we can learn from our loss is that the young players don't get faced by the pressure of the playoffs. Our young players were great in the playoffs. Yeah, they had their moments, but for the most part, they were great. Brock was great, Quinn Hughes was great, Bo was great, and Pedersen, up until we got eliminated, was probably one of, if not the best player left in the playoffs. They were great, and I think this small chunk of playoff experience will help them develop so much, and in future years, we can expect them to be great in the playoffs as well. So now that we've talked about a few of the many things we can learn and take away from this loss, let's talk about what I think we should change. All of these have to do with the cap situation because we need to fix that, period. Before we can be contenders, we need to fix that. And then after we do that, we can add on players. But I think this offseason, we just need to focus on our cap situation because that's the biggest problem we're facing. Because if we don't fix it, we could end up actually losing stars. And I think fixing the cap situation at least starts somewhere with trading Jay Beagle, Brandon Sutter, and Louis Eriksson because we simply don't need them. It's going to be hard to find trades for them, but we simply don't need them. Yeah, Sutter does some good things, but he's not worth the price tag. And if we do trade these guys, I don't think we should trade them for players. I don't think we should try to get anything from them. Just get rid of them. But then with that money, obviously save. We don't want to spend everything we have. But if we need replacements, we need to find ways to get cheap replacements that have better value. Because we're not going to get anything out of these guys. It's just the truth. We just need to get rid of them and get it done and over with. I don't care if we're losing value or whatever. Just get rid of them. But then with that money, because that's going to be like, if we successfully free up all these guys, $13 million or so, you could sign, I think, maybe like 3 depth players to replace each of these guys for probably less than $5 million. So we need to be more efficient with our money when fixing up our depth and getting rid of these guys. So we get rid of these guys, then we use the money, some of it of course, to get some depth players, but we need to be efficient when doing so. The next thing we need to do when fixing the cap situation is get rid of players we don't need anymore. I feel like we're hanging on to a few guys that we don't need, and their value is just getting lower and lower. For this idea, I think we need to start with Jake Virtanen and then evaluate some of the other players. We have been hanging on to Jake for quite a while. We've been thinking he'll pan out, and he hasn't panned out the way we thought he would. He's still a decent NHLer, and at times he looks really good, but he's also very inconsistent. Yeah, he plays a role that's super important to some teams, but I feel like for Jake specifically, we just need to get rid of him, mainly because of the cap situation. In my video on what to do with him, I said I want to keep him, and I still do, but I don't know if we'll be able to afford him. I think he'll overcome his attitude issues and his inconsistency, but my main reason to trade him isn't because of those problems, it's because of the money. We have a lot of key players to choose from and let go of this offseason, and I simply don't think the Canucks would potentially sacrifice someone like Tyler Toffoli or Tanev, or maybe even Jacob Markstrom to sign Jake. Also, if we do find a way to sign him, it will probably cause problems next year, so I think we just save the money or use it on a different key player. I think in general we need to be somewhat conservative with our money. We need to save money, and we can't just spend all our money this year because that could lead to us losing our star players. And I think we need to cut out players that we don't need or can't keep. And Jake and the overplayed depth players are people I would start with. And maybe even players like Troy Stetcher, who might be good, might need to be cut out because we just can't afford them. I think we need to leave this offseason with some cap space. We can't spend it all, or else we're not going to be looking good next season. In my eyes, we can't cling on to stuff because it could lead us to losing star players, potentially even like Pedersen, Besser, and more. my approach to the cap situation is get rid of players we don't need. We can't hang on to players. And even if we do somewhat need them, but the money is more useful, maybe we should think about getting rid of those players. So we need to eliminate players while trying to add on cheaper players who have good value for their price tag. Basically, we'll need to have a penny pincher mindset so that we can afford to pay our star players next year. And then the year after is the year, I think, or even after we sign our stars next year, we should start going for more key players. But I think this year we need to be conservative. This year, we need to think about money, how to save money. Next year, we sign our stars, and then with the leftover money, we think about signing key players. But until then, we have to save money. A player I think we should maybe think about trading if we can't find ways to clear cap space is Tanner Pearson. Yeah, Tanner Pearson is a 20-goal scorer, air quotes, but if Bo Horvat and empty netters weren't a thing, I don't think he would have any more than 15 goals, and that's at best. Yeah, he can be a good scorer. From time to time, he can put in a goal, but he's just so inconsistent in my eyes. And you have to ask the question, do we really need him? And if we do need him, is he worth the price tag of nearly $4 million? My answer is no. For those of you who are thinking our top 6 would be in shambles if Pearson was traded, think about this. Trading Pearson would undoubtedly cover at least half of Tyler Toffoli's contract. And if Toffoli signs for like $6 million, which is what I think he'll sign for, you just need a little bit of extra money. And I think if we don't sign Virtanen or just get rid of Virtanen, the money that we would have used on him can go to Toffoli's contract, and that would be completely covered just by trading those two. And our top 6 would still be very solid, as Toffoli is still a very good forward. Anyways, that concludes today's video. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. It really helps on my channel, and it's free and the easiest way to help out my channel, especially on the road to 400 subscribers. I think I got most of the important points down, but if you think I missed anything, comment it down below. Your comment could be the reason why I make a video, so you could technically have a video dedicated to your comment. Anyways, until next time, bye.